Hey guys, today we are going to complete the level 1 critical Birth by Sleep challenge and see if we can beat Terra's story. After doing the Aqua and Ven playthroughs, this video needed to be made, and I really did this challenge for you guys as most of us already know that Terra is going to give me the hardest time of the Wayfinder trio. And I can confirm that the Terra playthrough is by far the most difficult. Compared to the Aqua and Vanitas challenges which I did, which you guys can check out, I had to do a lot more planning and ability grinding / command grinding for Terra. Please rate the video and leave a comment telling me what you thought, as I really struggled through this challenge and it'll mean a lot to me. Starting off in Land of Departure, I got a foreshadowing of how this challenge would be. First, Vanitas had lost all of his health, but as soon as he regained his health, Aqua decided to die. This is not a good sign, guys. This is the first level. Now we are in Enchanted Dominion, and before we even start the game, there are a few things that we need to do. The first thing is to equip the Experience 0 ability to make this a level 1 challenge. The second thing we are going to do is grind. For the world's boss, we need to have Vanitas' D-Link upgraded at least once to have the haste command. This will be absolutely necessary for the boss we are about to fight. I also recommend just getting to level 2 of Vanitas' D-Link, though it's entirely optional. The finisher at level 2 is a long animation which we sort of want for the next boss. When we are fighting the boss, the first thing we want to do is get into Vanitas' D-Link. Because we have the haste command, we will attack more quickly and be able to damage the boss faster. We want to do the most damage as fast as possible, since we can get killed quite easily during this fight. Again, it's not critical that you have level 2 of Vanitas' D-Link, but I think it helps. The air dive finisher just makes us go into the air and do a few hits. It does decent damage and it doesn't take up any of the D-Link meter, so there is no reason to not use it. There really is no secret to this boss fight. Just keep whacking him using Ven's D-Link and you should win in about a minute. Whilst you're already in Enchanted Dominion, I also 100% recommend leveling up Aqua's D-Link. You need this to be at level 2 unlike Vanitas' D-Link for a few reasons. The first reason being that our level 1 finisher is not useful to us. We need the finisher level 2 called Magic Volley as it's strong. The second reason, aside from gaining a few more powerful commands with leveling up Aqua's D-Link, is we gain a very important ability: Auto Life. Auto Life is not super useful if you're a good player, but if you suck like me, I recommend it. Basically what Auto Life does is when you die, you will be granted a second chance of life. Check out this clip, guys. This is the power of Auto Life, which saved me a few times during this challenge. So now that we have Aqua level 2, we can move to the Dwarf woodlands. Before that, there is a little bit more setup that we have to do. First of all, you can get Fission Faraga on this sledge, which will be incredibly useful for most of the run. Secondly, you can use the base shotluck Terra has, which is Sonic Shadow, to teleport over this gap to get the Flame Salvo shotluck. This is highly recommended for the final Terra-nort fight. Now it's time for the Magic Mask fight. The Magic Mirror fight is a little difficult. The level 2 magic commands Aqua's D-Link gives us, and the Magic Volley is very effective against the Magic Mirror. Plus, in case you screw up and die, you will have a revive from Auto Life. Keep in mind that you guys are only seeing the winning gameplay, but this was a difficult fight. And most of the time you are fighting the Magic Mirror, you are reacting to what it does. So although the fight seems difficult at first, it's not. It's just long. I did run out of D-Link for Aqua near the end of the fight, but that is why I got Fission Faraga. It's a powerful command early game, and it's there for backup in case we don't finish the job with Aqua's D-Link. Next up is Castle of Dreams. Terra does have to simp in this level for Cinderella by escorting her to the ball to dance with another guy. I felt terrible for Terra and decided to leave Cinderella for a bit, and she didn't like me ignoring her, and she was about to kill herself, so Terra had to step in. As for the boss, we will once again utilize the power of Aqua. There is not much to say here. You need to get into Aqua's D-Link as soon as possible and start spamming her commands. It's more powerful than the magic commands that we are given at the start of the game, so they do more damage, and more importantly, using these commands will lead us to getting the Aqua level 2 finisher. This fight isn't too difficult and you should win eventually. Some of the attacks may hit the instruments, but this is not a speedrun challenge. You don't have to use Aqua. I'm sure you can use the Maleficent or Ventus D-Link or a non-D-Link strategy altogether to beat the boss. This is just what worked for me, and I recommend using this strategy. Next up is the Radiant Garden, where we will face the Trinity Armor. And speaking of not having a solid strategy for the Cinderella boss, I had absolutely no strategy for Trinity Armor. I swear to you guys that I was stuck on this boss for days. I wasn't even sure if this video would be made since Trinity Armor is so difficult. We can't use D-Link in this fight and the Trinity Armor doesn't really stagger, so you're always in danger of dying. My only recommendation is on what commands to have. For sure, I recommend having one cure command as you will take damage. I also recommend using the Fission Faraga spell since it's strong, and the more Thunders and Thundaras you have, the better. There is a free Thunder Surge that you can get in Radiant Garden in the waterfall area, and I recommend having one Ignite as it does passive damage to the boss, and you don't have to be near it. Really, this fight just comes down to luck and a lot of retries. It's complete BS, and when I did win, I did not feel a sense of accomplishment, but we did it. This fight alone I can talk to you guys about for over 10 minutes, and I have over an hour's worth of fails that I recorded that I would love to show you guys, but this isn't the hardest fight in the game. Neither is the break fight, but I actually had a lot more fun with this fight. When it starts, he'll teleport to the top and shoot a Terra. You can just guard these shots, and you have to do it twice for him to come back down. He'll then teleport once on the ground where you will want to cast Ignite on him. Make sure that you're locked onto him first before casting Ignite, otherwise you're just wasting the command. Do not engage Break though. I found it easier to simply guard his bullets and have them reflect onto him. That does more damage than attacking and it's safer than engaging him. You really just need to learn the fight and get comfortable with guarding all of his bullets, as that was the main damage dealer for me. When he does go on the ground and start flexing to shoot one bullet, I recommend using a Thunder Surge for the free damage, and it will usually make him come out of that move. If it doesn't, it's easy to dodge the attack. Next up is Olympus, and the game still isn't easy guys, we still die quite easily. What I recommend for the Coliseum tournament is to use the Magnet and Thunder trick that we use in the Vanitas and Aqua playthroughs. You don't have to do it this way as this method is cheap, but I'm cheap so this works. We don't have to win with style, we just want to win. And as simple as that sounds, that is all that we have to do to win the tournament. However, we will run into a little trouble when we fight Zack. Unlike Brig and Trinity Armor, we are going to use Ignite here a lot. It keeps us a safe distance away from Zack, and beating him this way is replicable and easy. You can use Shotlocks and other commands, but Ignite worked for me, and fighting using the Ignite spam just becomes a run out the clock type of fight rather than a skill based fight, since we will eventually win using this strategy. However, the true nightmare happens with Zack round 2. I want you guys to look at this clip, and please keep in mind that the fight literally just started and we cannot guard this attack. There is no way to avoid that attack guys. He will always use his desperation move, but what we can use is a shotlock to get invincibility frames, so we will not have to care about the attack. I use the Sonic Shadow shotlock, but any shotlock that wastes time works. As soon as Zack tires himself out, you want to enter the Ven D-Link. Remember that Ven has the magical ability called Haste. Well, we are going to use that again. You need to make sure that we have it set to the level 1 finisher, not the level 2 finisher. We do not need Terra flying around the air for this fight. We need Terra to be the one on the ground, keeping Zack staggered. We don't want Zack to use his desperation move again, so we must constantly damage him. You can back him into a corner like I'm trying to do, and just keep repeating this tactic. And this is basically the fight guys. We just keep spamming regular attacks on Zack, and we will win. When you enter deep space and have to fight Sparky, there is a strategy here and it's really obvious. Just like most bosses, you don't want to swing the Keyblade or be up close to Sparky. Make sure to use Thunders on him, Mind Squares, and even have a few Ignite spells, as that works for him. Luckily, he is affected by Thunder magic, despite being a Thunder Element boss. So if you have a Thunder Surge, that also works, so don't be afraid to use it. The hardest part of this fight is when Sparky enters the cannons to shoot at Terra. This part is insanely difficult, but only insanely difficult if you participate in the fight. We need to become pacifists when this happens. All you need to do is run in a circle when the cannons are shooting. Do this for about 30 seconds or so and Sparky will leave the cannons and you can resume the fight. Next up is Neverland, and just to remind you guys, we can still be one-shotted. This challenge is not easy.
You won't stop me! Yeah! Heal! How can this be?
What do you guys think the strategy is for Peter Pan? That's right, use the Ventus D-Link. I'm sorry for using the same strategy again guys, but it works. I wanted this video to be interesting, but I'm such a bad player that this is all I could think of doing. Ventus's haste ability is insanely useful. All we want to do is keep attacking Peter Pan with regular attacks. Just make sure that you have the level 1 finisher equipped. Honestly, this fight isn't too difficult if you fight him with Ven. Our friends are our power in this challenge. And before we get to the endgame, we should probably talk about melding some abilities since we haven't done that yet in this video. And unlike Ventus and Aqua, I would say melding is even more needed for Terra, especially when we are going to fight Eraqus. First of all, make sure that you meld a second chance and once more. I also recommend melding some HP boost, magic haste, and attack haste commands, and renewal block, as we are going to need all of them for the Keyblade Graveyard. I also highly recommend having damage siphon, as we know we are going to take a lot of damage, and some of that damage might as well help us get back some meter for Shotlux, even though they do chip damage. However, before we go to the graveyard, we have to fight Eraqus. I recommend having a deck filled with only Thunder Surges, except for 1 or 2 cure commands. The Thunder Surges grants us invincibility frames and does a decent amount of damage. This is the easiest strategy that I could find for Eraqus. We don't have access to D-Links for some reason, and most of the commands that we have will leave us vulnerable to attacks. Sorry again guys, nothing too interesting about this fight other than the fact that I had to be basic and spam Thunder Surge sauce for Eraqus. Later in the fight, Eraqus will summon 3 flame tornadoes to kill Terra. This is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing since it helps waste time so we can get a heal in whilst he does this attack, but it's also a curse as it wastes time and we don't really have a good opportunity to attack him. You can wait a few seconds for the end of the flame tornado to attack, but it's still a bit risky. Luckily we have second chance and once more, so we won't get one-shotted, but this is still going to be a hard fight, but it's completely doable. Now we are in the Keyblade Graveyard, and just like with Aqua and Ventus, Terra can also avoid the tornadoes. One of my favorite things to do in this game now is avoid tornadoes. I always feel cool doing this. Comment down below if you think this is cool. Anyways, for the first of the final 3 boss fights, we have Vanitas. Like my other level 1 playthroughs, we will once again have to utilize the power of Peter Pan. Yup, we are going to use Sword Bill. As the fight starts, use the Peter Pan D-Link. What you want to do now is jump into the air and do a single Keyblade swing to attack Vanitas. For some reason, the game gives us more meter for an air attack than a ground attack, so that's why we jump in the air. I don't know why. And when you have the Sword Bill finisher, just wait for Vanitas to jump into the air and unleash the attack. Not too bad of a fight, but it may take a few tries to get Sword Bill to actually hit Vanitas. Next up is the Terra vs Xehanort fight. This fight can be difficult, but there is an exploit for the fight. What you need to do is have as many Thunder Surges you can have in your deck. I recommend Thunder Surges instead of Fire Surges as I think it does more damage, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it matters since we just want the invincibility frames of Thunder Surge. You do not need to heal in this fight either, but I kept 3 cures for the next fight, which I will discuss in a bit. The strategy for Xehanort, as you guys can already tell, is very stupid. The way the exploit works is that we have to use a Thunder Surge and then run away. We don't have to run far away or anything, just take a few steps or maybe even a single step back after using Thunder Surge and use it again. You won't disappear when you do this, and it makes the fight very predictable using this exploit. So all you have to do is Thunder Surge and run back, and Thunder Surge, and you'll win in no time. And now for the final boss fight against Terra-nort. This fight is complete and utter BS. I spent hours trying to do this. Literally hours on this fight. This is not an exaggeration. The winning clip of this fight was over 7 minutes long for me. I wasn't even sure if this video would be made because I wasn't even sure if I could beat this boss. There is no exaggeration here, guys. I've been stuck on this fight for at least 2 months. I can now say with 100% certainty, having completed all the level 1 challenges in Birth by Sleep, that Terra has the hardest campaign. If you don't have any of the abilities that we melded before Eraqus, you'll need them now. And before we start, remember that Flame Salvo shot luck that we got in Dwarf Woodlands? Well, we need that for this fight as it's better than the default shot luck. The default shot luck doesn't do much damage to Terra-nort and doesn't stagger him as much. Just like with Braig, the strategy here is to guard all of Terra-nort's bullets and have them hit him, as that does more damage than our commands, and it refills our health due to renewal block. Also, make sure that you are locked onto him when you block his attacks. Try to use shot lucks when you can, as we always want the focus meter to refill when we take damage. I recommend having at least 3 cure commands for this fight. You may not need any, but if you're not a god or a speedrunner at this game, just have 3 cure commands. They aren't at all helpful when we fight Vanitas or Xehanort, but they are needed for this fight. For a majority of this fight, and why the clip of me beating Terra-nort is over 7 minutes, that is due to the cure commands. I would not engage Terra-nort a lot, as I was always waiting for a cure command to recharge. And having spent hours doing this fight, I didn't want to restart this fight, so I took my sweet time. And keep in mind, guys, this is the successful attempt. I died a lot here. I feel like I can spend hours talking about this fight and how I managed to beat Terra-nort. But what this fight comes down to is just learning when to guard his shots and when to use Thunder Surge. If you guys need to know the pain of this fight or strategies for it, I recommend checking out Pesilis's video. His guides helped me a lot for my Birth by Sleep level 1 playthroughs and just gave me encouragement to know that I didn't suck at this game. There should be a link in the description if you guys want to see more of the insanity and strats required for the Terra-nort fight at level 1. His strategies are very different from what I use since he did it as a speedrunner, but it's still very interesting to watch. However, after more than 7 minutes fighting Terra-nort, I was finally able to win with a shot luck and put the Birth by Sleep level 1 challenge to rest. So can you beat Terra's story in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep at level 1? Yes. I don't recommend playing Terra level 1 though. Do Aqua level 1 as it's more enjoyable. Terra's story is by far the hardest and easily the most rage awakening playthrough. Here is my final stats screen for the game. It took me over 8 hours and my most used command was Thunder Surge. I think my next level 1 challenge will be either Kingdom Hearts 3 or Kingdom Hearts 1. Leave a comment telling me which I should do first. I have no idea when either video will release as I've never beaten either game at level 1. Due to my familiarity with KH1 since I've played that since childhood, I think that it may be easier, but what would you guys like to see next? Or if you have a weird challenge like no jumping or D-links only, I'd be willing to give it a try, so please leave a comment below. I do hope you guys enjoyed my video, and if you did, please rate, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.